Okay, hello and welcome. Whoa. Let's get started. Let's get started. Sorry I've been away for a little bit. I had a couple of things to do for work, so streaming has been not something that I was able to do. I'm going to have a similar 10-day stint in November, sadly. That's okay. That is okay. So we got a couple of things done. I'm trying to think about what the last stream was. Need to look at it. I don't remember what the last stream was. Or was it? What was it? What was it? It's on the YouTubes. Oh, you got the. Yep. What was the last stream? 38 was. Oh, Niagara. Okay. Yeah. So we did finish that. I don't know if I finished it on stream or not. But I did finish it. So there is some nice Niagara particles in. I also off stream for the couple of days that I was there. I worked on some VO. I got the new VOs in for a couple different things, and then I'm working on basically the intro scene, and so I'm making a skeleton for the intro because the fates are basically skeletons. So I have to create 3 fates, and the first one I'm making it, we're gonna call him the Weaver. So that's what we're gonna be doing tonight. I already made it. It's already kind of detailed out and everything else. I need to pull all of this over into 3DCoat so that way I can UV map it. I could UV map it here if I didn't care, but the reality is if I plan on actually doing this later, oh man, my eye is killing me. If I plan on doing this later, then like without having to go and do rework again, then what I really need to do is I need to make every effort to ensure that I do it the right way, you know. And that's kind of the importance is you got to do it the right way the first time, so that way I don't have to redo it later. So this is just give you a bit of scale and scope. This is how big he'll be. And then to kind of understand what I did, I basically added a sound effect for impact, and then we finished the particle system basically letting us know that they're there. So I have that particle system, and then I have the feedback one. And that feedback I think I might make it a little bit longer and a little bit more noticeable. My only fear was like if I did like 4 of them in a row, it would be really loud. So I was trying to be like, maybe you know. But I've got the timing down really well after all the practices and everything else. So I can pretty much. Oh, he just canceled that. What the heck? He's doing frame canceling. So I can pretty much do it almost 100% of the time. Not always. Yeah, as you can see. Sometimes I get a little early. Trigger happy. But I should be able to get it most of the time. So that's good. Which means I might have to make it a little bit more difficult. I don't know. We'll see. The learning curve might be really hard for some players. So I might have to watch that. But we did create new VOs.
Hey, old trio. You look new around here. Perhaps you arrived with the batch at yesterday.
Oh, there we go. That worked. I don't know why it worked, but it did. So okay. And the new VOs basically are more. They have more tone and inflection in them now.
Welcome to Ludus Inidium. I am the Maius, your Delptore. What questions do you have?
So now they have a good pacing and they have a good structure and they're kind of, more whatever.
Look for the perfect timing to execute a block. If done correctly, you'll parry your opponent, leaving them open to counterattacks.
I also reduced the length. So before they were a little verbose. I wanted to add a little bit of style to it, and have them kind of talk. So
Go on.
basically, it's a little bit less verbose now.
Combos are complex attacks chained together. Each weapon you wield has a different combo, but you must time each attack correctly.
So in this way,
Go on.
you basically, I've reduced it down, made it easier. It's more bite size. You can kind of work through it.
Blocking can be performed with any weapon, shield, or in rare cases, even your fists, though I strongly advise against the latter. Blocking requires stamina. Without it, you'll end up on the ground, looking up at your opponent one last time before they send you to the afterlife.
But the key part is now it has inflection. So I really was happy with how that kind of turned out. I obviously need to do a couple more things to make it, flawless, but pretty good. And then I'm working on bricking out the kind of story for the dream world. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna change the intro, and the intro is going to be the tutorial is gonna be more like Ghost of Tsushima, Sushami or Susanami. I don't judge me. But basically it's gonna be more like that, where you're gonna start inside of this dream world, and this dream world will be where you interact, and like you'll see that's the skeletons that we're working on right now. Basically, you'll be here and you'll kind of get summoned to come over there. And then once you are here, basically that's when you'll see one of them come out from this side. They'll do their VO line, and then the other one will come out from that side, and then your screen's gonna fade to white, and then you're gonna be over somewhere over here. I can't even remember where it's at. I put it. Oh, oh yeah, that's right. Gotta make it unlit. I put it. Oh, never mind. I got rid of it. I deleted it. I was in the process of making it, but basically I'm gonna put another area over here that you can't see the light from, and you'll basically spawn in here, and it's gonna be like a ghost arena, and that's how you're going to do. You'll do the training match here in the ghost arena, and it'll be like I said, the Ghost of Tsushima or Sushami or Susanimi or however you say that game. I don't know. So it'll be like that. And then once you've finished that, it'll fade to black, and then you'll be teleported back over here, and it'll unfade from black, and then the third fate will come out and basically tell you how to start the process, which is you interacting with the device. And so you'll basically walk over to the device and touch the device, and then that's what's going to teleport you into the main world. And so that's what I'm going to be working on for the next, I want to say week and a half. I'm going to try to see if I can do most of it myself. We're going to be working on that in the streams. Obviously, I need to get everything looking pretty. And that's why tonight we're going to be working on this bad boy in 3DCoat. And we're also going to be working on it in Maya, because obviously we need it in Maya. We'll do a little bit more of the rigging, and then I'll probably do some modeling of the actual cloth. And then depending on how long that takes me and how fast we get through that, then I will, put that inside of Unreal Engine, and we'll work through that. Maybe not. Again, I don't know how long it'll take. It's not an easy process. It's not fast in any way, shape, or form. So buckle up. We're in for the long haul. First things first, we do need to export this bad boy, because I've got it all prepared. I had done this already, and then I sent it over, but I had two sides, and I forgot. The short and skinny of it is basically I don't need to have two sides. I can have one side, unless I really want to have two sides, which I don't. This is like they're never going to see this portion of the model. I'm only doing it for structure, because I think I want these to be one of the last bosses, or like an optional boss that you can do. Like if you decide to do the story and not follow through with whatever it is that they're telling you to do, that like it's a boss that you can fight. And so in that kind of frame of mind, I don't want to restrict myself where later on I have to come back in and redo all of this. So I am specifically trying to make this to where they're fully fleshed out, and by flesh I mean bones. They're fully boned out. That doesn't sound good either. They're fully fleshed out. I'm going to stick with that one. And that way we have something to work with later on if I need to for the boss animations and the attacking. So, let's make sure that everything is kind of there. The other thing I could do, I don't need this all the way up like I've got it. I can actually save a lot of time by basically getting rid of all of these. I'll take the biggest one, which I think is there. Yeah, just take the biggest one. And then when I bring it back over, I'll replicate it. And you do this because as I paint one, I the problem with this, or the downside is that I won't be able to, have like unique little elements on either side. But the positive side of this is, again, we're not going to see this. And so I can go kind of really, really cheap on the texture, but still get nice, good detail from it. And you do that by kind of doing what I'm doing right now, where I'm duplicating on both sides. This is not how you would do a normal character in any way, shape, or form if they were going to see both sides or deal with both sides, unless you very much didn't care. And I do care because that is, or well, okay. Normally I would care. In this scenario, I don't care because, again, it's going to be hidden. So I don't really care. It can all be duplicated. So we're going to send this out. I need to get rid of all these. That. And then let's clear out. So all the transformations are cleared, so it's nice and clean. Put this on the desktop because that's just where I put all my holding stuff. What are these called? Fates? Yeah, it's called Fate. It's opening 3DCoat right now. It's beautiful white screen. We'll UV map the mesh. The eyes can be super low quality. 256 is more than fine. I don't know why there's two different standard surfaces. It does this sometimes. It's really silly. I cleared them all out. I don't know why. And then a 2K mesh is fine for this. It's kind of a large model, so I would say 2K might not be the best option, but because again this is going to be hidden, I don't necessarily care that it's 2K. Like, it doesn't matter. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the UVs, and then I basically have to go through here and set up every single individual thing. And it looks like, okay, so that finger is what the other surface was. So I basically need to clear this, clear clusters, clear seams. I'm going to auto seam this just for the sake of having it. I'm going to unwrap it. Where are those at? What? So confused. If all of this is on a different thing, then why am I... Okay. This is interesting. Where is that on this? Okay, so I can delete this. There's nothing here. Okay, so I deleted that. It's unused. Oh. Wait, that's the head? Oh, the head is on its own layer. Well, I definitely did that, so... Okay, so... Well, okay. Well, then that means that I need to send this over to move selected to surface 1. Okay, damn it. Move it over surface 1. Okay, so I have nothing here, which is good. Now I can do delete unused. Yes, apply. I have to do it. Apply UV set. Yes. Okay, so switch to standard surface and then delete unused. Okay, cool. So it's gone now. Good. We do have a problem now, though, because I have some issues with the unwrapping. So this is where a 2K texture probably is not going to be enough, but we will see. So we're gonna. Oh damn. Oh dip. I did it too soon. Okay. Nope. Gotta start over. Dang. But I did it too soon. Because if I clear all the clusters and I clear all the seams, that's going to create a problem with it's going to clear all the clusters and all the seams on the head again. So I'm going to have to redo that, and I don't want to have to redo that. So, yeah, I don't want to have to redo that. So I'm going to keep it separate for now. We'll stick on surface 1. I'm going to hide the head so that way I can go through what that looks like. Fix that real quick. Let's go ahead and hide the head. So this is the hand, finger. So all this is the fingers over here. It's an arm. There's some bone. Ooh, I did lose a jaw on here somewhere. Dang it! I should have been paying attention. I wasn't paying attention. So this is the jaw. Okay, so I'm gonna relabel this. Jaw. Okay. Head. That's the left eye. L. I'm assuming this is the right eye. Why would it be the right next to it? Okay. So we got some fingers and some other things. Okay, cool. So now basically I can just turn them. I wish there was a turn on all thing. Let's turn off the eye, the head, the eye, and the jaw. Turn off that. Now I can do the clear all seams and clear all clusters. And now I can basically work through the mesh. So this is where I would turn everything off and go through each individual one. So that way it's easier for me to see as I go through, and I know I've done it because I'm turning it on as I go through. Okay. Good there. We'll do the same thing on this one. I think I made it easy on myself this time. I'm not going to promise that, but I think I did. I mean, it looks like I did, so that's good. Okay, so we finished that one. We don't need to do the eye, right? Okay, so then we do need to do this one. This process can be tedious. It really just depends. And then the other thing is if I put the seam, we have to be mindful of the seams, right? So I think this is the upper arm. And if I put the seam on the upper arm right here in the front, then you're always going to see it. Most likely, we're not going to see this mesh from the back, so I probably would aim for something on the back area like that. Ah, okay, so here's where that's different. So this is a forearm, and that's being covered by this, so I could easily hide that there. And then same for the other one, I can hide the seam inside. Because it's very rare, unless you're doing like a really cool screenshot or something, it's just really rare that you're going to see both of those. I'm going to see if I can get one good structure, and I can, so that's good. That's what we want to see. That's the wrist. That's one of the bones. This is for the rib cage, I think. I kind of cheated it by just fusing it here. So I think this is probably where the best spot for a seam would be. Maybe not, but again, at the same time, it's going to just make it easier on me, I think. Because I'll have the caps to deal with, and then those caps get hidden. And then very rarely will I have anybody on the actual inside. So I'm just going to cap them off here. This one's going to need some extra love on the outside because of how it was done. But, okay, so that's pretty nice. There's probably a better way to go on the up and down portion. Now that I'm thinking about it, I could like seam it here. And so because I'll have the other bones to hide it. So maybe that's a better way of doing it. Because I'll have both sides, but I can kind of have a nice good seam from. Why does that not? Oh, that's interesting. What about there? That's very interesting. Yeah, that's always the fun part about UV mapping. You kind of have to have a good decision on what it is that you're trying to do, what you want to hide, what you don't want to hide, kind of like what needs to be shown, what doesn't need to be shown. And I'll be honest, I have just learned through experience. I'm sure that what my assertions are not correct. I'm just like, oh yeah, this makes sense. So don't by any way, shape, or form take mine. And I've definitely watched other people do it. They like to do things in a certain way. I prefer mine in a certain way. And I definitely know that mine is not industry standard in my methodology. So this might be the part of the stream where you're like, right, you fool is a poop. And I'll be like, maybe. But it's just how I like to do it. So take it for a grain of salt. I also was in my old version of, Vacom, I was doing non-alpha card meshes because it was more performant, So I mean, like, I don't know. I think sometimes I'm right. Sometimes. Okay, so that definitely does not like that. Do I fix that by doing something like here? No. Okay. Does that alleviate that? Not really. What if I put it here? 3DCoat, you being silly. That didn't really change anything. Okay, never mind. It is what it is. Again, it's the backside, so I don't really care. They're never gonna see it. They're gonna literally not care at all. So whatever. Okay, so here's what I was talking about earlier. We're gonna see this happen multiple times, right? And so because of our seeing this multiple times, we can kind of cheat at it and get away with it. So the question is all of this top part is going to be hidden by the other stuff. So I don't really care that it has a seam on it because it's all going to be hidden by the other ones that are basically on top of it. So for, kind of making a seam, I can do the seam at the top because I know that it's going to be hidden. And I can also do a seam at the bottom because that too will also be hidden like 99.9% of the time. So we can have a really nice seam there, and then that makes this part a little bit nicer to where we don't have to have that there. Now I just need to figure out how do I best want to represent this crazy knob, right? And we could put a seam here and then actually outcast it. It's not a bad idea, given the low importance of the location. But if we can get away with not having to do that, it's probably better. So if I don't know what I just did. What did it say? Oh, autosave. If I can get away with kind of cheating the different sections, I will, and that's what I'm gonna do. So I got that, and now what we need to do is we need to make this as flat as possible. Now we can do that in a couple different ways. I can kind of cut through here and say, oh, yep, it's good. Or I could try to cut closer to this location and then say, yeah, it's good. And then the other option I can do is I can actually come on the other side because this is going to be shaded out anyways. So I could just say, here's my cut. And now I have this nice back part with a nice smooth front part. I'm not necessarily good with this because what happens is these islands will get separated, and that's not something you want to have. Well, I mean, you could do it. 3DCoat's really good at this, to where as I paint directly on it, it's easier. Back in the day, this wasn't as easy because you didn't have cool little 3D programs like this where you can kind of just paint directly on the mesh. And so your UV chains had to be more understandable as you were going through things, right? I do need to learn how to modify the pivot in 3DCoat. I always forget that portion. And so then that creates silly scenarios where I gotta like zoom in and zoom out. Okay, and as oh no, it's still over there. Yep. Okay, pivot's still way over there. So then I'll do the clavicle. This one should be pretty easy, but you can see that I'm getting some weird morphing up here, and that's because of how I did the mesh. So I tried to save on some stuff, and so by putting that little kind of like purposeful one there, I'm telling the program, hey, there's a purposeful cut here, so try to keep it in line with that. And then what I need to do is I just need to separate these little edges, giving a little bit of relief, not much. As you can see, that didn't really do anything, so I have to kind of look at it and see, and then it creates an overlap, and that's bad. So it's better to have it just there if it doesn't actually create any major relief. Just like that one didn't either, so I don't really care. Okay. For these, though, I can actually create some relief by gutting this off. And then maybe similar to right here, I might be able to gut this off and get some relief on this. Because this is definitely a very harsh edge. Yeah. And then I basically, there's no good answer for that. So I'm hoping that this being cut off will also create some relief. And it looks like it did. So it's not flawless, but it did create some good relief. And they're never gonna see on the inside, so it doesn't really matter. Like, it just doesn't matter. Okay, cool. And so then we already have our jaw done. I don't really care about that. This is the upper clavicle connection bone. So we're gonna have to do 2 cuts here. And then on the internal part, I can just do 1 cut, I think. It's not great. What if I did that? Okay. Okay, that's better. Not great. And then probably just a uppercut. Ew. And so this gives us a nice little soft edge, which is exactly what we want. Nice, good cut. And then we'll do the same thing there. Great. Cool. We're still working on some rib cages. Get a few more of those done. And once this is done, then we can use 3DCoat's really cool features to basically get it all a default kind of gradient texture in place, which is all I really care about. And then we'll bounce out and get it back over to Maya to do the rest of what we're going to be doing, which is adding the rig, weighting it, which won't take long. And then after we've weighted it, we're going to take care of the rest. Okay, so same thing. We're in the arm. I can probably get away with making 2 sides, but I want to try to see if I can get rid of. Can I cheat it? No, I can't. That's really harsh. So this would create a lot of problems here where the blue is, and so I'd get a lot of stretching there. I don't want to have a lot of stretching there. I could if I really was trying to save space. I'm not really worried about it, so I'm just gonna do that. I want that line. Gosh. And so I'm just gonna actually do what I told myself I wasn't gonna do, and I'm just gonna split it right on the half. I will have a seam here, but again, I'm not doing anything crazy with this bone, and I'm not doing anything outrageous style-wise, so I don't really care. You should normally, traditionally, not try to have double seam like that. It is a super hacky answer for what it is that we're doing, so don't judge me. Those of you who are watching, okay? No judgments. This is a judge-free zone. Unless you're Judge Dredd. Then I guess you can judge. What? I didn't do that one already. Thought I did. Okay, so that's easy. Grab the next finger. We're just cutting these off. Again, making this super easy because it's basically going to be like 2 colors, you know? I'm not tripping on any location specifically. Wait, what the banana? Why is there that there? What the effles? What the? Oh, lordy. Okay, well, that's going to be, I hope that doesn't mess everything up. It's probably going to mess everything. Crap in the sangria. How did that happen? Is that on all of them? No, 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 no. Please tell me not on all. Yeah. Come on, stop being so silly. It's just on that one. Dang, dude. Dang, Daniel. Okay, well, it is what it is. It is what it is. Nothing I can do about it. Right here in this program, we've basically finished it all off, which is great. Everything looks amazing. Yay. So it's all been textured, or it hasn't been textured, but it all has the cuts for the UV map on it now. So now we can unwrap it, but before that I need to go back over to my Surface 11 and grab all of these. And we're going to basically take these and put them over into my primary surface now. And with everything moved there, I can do delete unused. I lied. I did not move them because I was a silly boy. Thought I pressed the right thing and I didn't. I need to move selected surface. There we go. Okay, so now nothing is here. And so now if I go to standard surface 1 and I hit delete, now it's going to delete it. Apply the UV set. Take a second to process. And then we go to, well, okay. Finish processing. There we go. Delete unused. Okay, good. Now it's gone. So now when we go to our unwrap, it's going to unwrap everything. There is some things that are not done properly. So let's take a look at what those are. Why did it auto unwrap it? No, it auto unwrapped it. Bro. Why? I didn't do that. What the F? Like I literally went through and made all these cuts. I didn't what okay. Going to breathe in, breathe out. Because now I have to do that all over again. While we're here, I'm going to fix this crap. I don't even know how that happened. It looks like the cut operation I did here, like, I don't know, it had a problem. Dude, that's so hardcore. So hardcore. Okay, cool. I'm trying to think of when did that happen? Like, I think it's whenever I merged them over. It had to have been when I merged them over. You know? I think that's really whenever it did it, is whenever I merged them over. That's some buggery. That's some buggery. Okay. Well, back again we go. Sorry. That was a wasted 40 minutes. Yeah. Okay, so we're just gonna do it at the beginning now, because if that's what it's gonna do, I'm just gonna have to redo this goal too, which is fine. It is what it is. I'm not gonna trip on it. It's just crazy. Absolutely crazy. Okay. Now that our morale has been completely butchered, let's head back over. So we're gonna move it over and we're gonna lose it. That's fine. It is what it is. Move it over to the main section. I'm gonna go back to standard surface. So everything is here now. Wait, what? I said move it, didn't I? Yo, 3DCoat be trying to test me today. 3DCoat be testing me. Okay, there we go. There we go. Okay, everything's where it needs to be. So now I'm gonna clear all cluster, clear all seams. I'm gonna auto UV map it. I'm just gonna unwrap it, and it's gonna basically trip out and not work. Perfectly fine. I'm okay with this. We're gonna apply the UV set, so that way I can delete unused layers, so that that standard layer goes away, and then basically I now have to go through this whole thing again and redo it. Yay! The good news is I know what I want to do now, so it'll be easier. Maybe. That is the positive side, right? Always look at the positive. Plus, it's like double checking your work. That's what that's what it is. I'm just double checking my work. If the teacher ever asks me, I'm just double checking my work. And I'll be like, wait, who's the teacher? Oh, good answer. Jesus Christ. There you go. There you go. Okay, wait, what the hell? What is this one? Oh, that's the eye. Yay, I remembered. I was like, oh, that's the forearm. Yeah, see? Learning! Okay, so that's the eyeball. The wrist. We did something like this, right? And I think we came in here, and then we... that. And that. Yeah, that's what we did. Yay! I remembered. Okay, cool. We are gonna actually have to do the head, which I don't want to do right now. So I'm just gonna label it head, so that way I can come back to it. I don't want to do it right now. And we did say that we were gonna that. And we said because it's top down, we're gonna do top down. What the? Okay, there we go. Wait a minute, that's not the middle. It's not the middle. Yeah, okay, there we go. Now we're looking good. Now we're cooking. Now we're cooking and booking. Oop, got a little too close. At least the camera's behaving now. Earlier, that camera was not being nice. This camera's working. I like it when cameras work. Makes my life easier. Okay, so from this spectrum, it looks good. No issues. We'll just cut this off real quick at the top, so that way I have one. And then we'll also do the bottom. That actually turned out nicer for some reason. I actually don't know why. I have no clue why. Like before, that was all blue. Remember? Oh, what? Why? That should have been gone. It's not good. What did I just do? I just made something invisible. I don't know how I made it invisible. I don't 3DCoat add some new features that I'm not tracking? I'm not even pressing anything. Come on. Yeah. Come on. Struggle bus with the camera here. Okay, and then I think I said that. I like that better. Yep. Okay, there we go. Nice and pretty. Let me zoom out real quick. So that's basically how we're going to do that. So it's nice. I wonder what this would look like. And I don't really care about here. All I care about is this. And that backside. So yeah, you know what? I'm going to stick with it. I don't care. F it. The reason why that matters is because the more space I have, the more ability I have. And so we want to have as much control. We want to have as much control on this as possible. Oh crap. No. Why did that do that? It left it. Oh man, I'm gonna get hit. I'm gonna get hit. Dang it. Dang it. I'm gonna get hit for copyright. That's okay. Because that was a popular song. I'm 100% gonna get hit for copyright. There ain't no avoiding that. Oh well. Man, tonight has been a fun stream night. That's what happens when you take a couple of days off for streaming. Come back and mojo is all not mojo. No mojo. Powerpuff. Don't judge. So this is Jaw. Let's save this so I don't have to come back to this again if I mess this up. So this is going to be Fate 01. I don't want to deal with the Jaw right now. So come back. I already made those look pretty before in another time. I gotta do it again. That looks good. That looks good. Cool. Yeah. Another weirdly. That's a rib. Oh, that's the bottom rib. Okay. I wish I could make the pivot point the center location. There's got to be a way to make the pivot point the camera center location instead of the zeroed out location. Like, that's got to be a thing. So this is the bone that kind of tipped it all off for me because it was jacked up and spread into like 6 different spots. I was like, wait a minute, what? I didn't do that. I made it 2 spots. How did it get to be 6? That was the tipper. More fingers. More fingers. At least fix this. So that's a positive. Yeah, I'm okay with how that looks. Well, okay, I kind of lied. So it needs to align with the finger. That's better. Yeah, that's much better. I don't know why that one's brighter than all the rest. Like it's like all the rest are like semi-transparent, and this one's bright. 3DCoat be changing some stuff up on me, man. Messing up my lifestyle. Maybe it's because I had it selected at one point. I don't know. Okay, let's do an unwrap real quick. So this should make a lot of this like really good. The face is probably your jacked up part. And the way that this works is it takes the size and it tries to create proportionality, which is good. But you can see that this is very textured, right? And so at a 2K texture, this is how my stuff would be all kind of like. It's not bad for hand painted, but it really would not be good for realistic. You would get that Skyrim look. Okay, let's I gotta redo this. Cluster truck. I even how did I do this? This was such a craptastic mesh when I made it during the game jam. Clearly, you can see how well I spent with it. I was like, let's just make a jaw. Okay, got a jaw. It's there now. Be happy. There's a jaw. Okay, so we need to separate this out. I think that's what I did. I think that's what I did last time. I basically separated that out. And I think the reasoning behind that is it just makes it easier to manage, because this is a cluster inside of here. Basically, I have to come here and cut this section out. So that way it can look a certain way, and then I can create good structure here. Maybe I do it like this. It's this part of this that I always hate because it's like never clear. That looks good. This is gonna be kind of not good, which is what it is. Okay, well that's not bad, but it has overlapping reliefs, so that part is bad. Overlapping reliefs, no buenos. No bueno, señor. No puedo. What if I do that and that? Does that make that better? Because that's still jacked up in here too, right? So what if I make this come in like this and I do that? Is that okay? Yeah. Okay, so that's okay for that. Did that make this better? Not really. It's not. Oh, it's bad. Why, man? Is it because that crap up there? Probably because of that up there. Really should clean that geo up. Don't want to have to redo this though, so. How do I fix this? What's the answer? Because if I do that, it's just going to cut into it. Does this still work here? Did I solve the problem? I solved the problem. Yee. Like origami. You just gotta, you know, origami it. Do some origami. Okay, cool. I do that, and then I do this. Short rock. Okay, cool. So now I have one kind of front piece, and then I've got a little back piece with two inner sides. Don't really care about that part. Cool. Let's save. Let's go to the head, and let's finish this bad boy off. This is our not cool structure. Did it fast during a game jam. Don't judge me. Okay, so let's cut this out here. We'll just highlight. We'll do a highlight rim. That puts all this on the inside. Don't even care about it. Or I could do it here. Probably the better option. And I have all that. And then I need to follow the outside edge. That basically cuts all of that off, which is great. And then we have this front skull thing. I'm going to separate it into two parts. I have a front, and I got a back, which makes my life easy. And I'm going to add just a little tiny relief. And there. Okay. Cool. So everything should be good now. So now here's where I got to come in here and inspect and make sure there's no wonky stuff. So I do have some wonky stuff. So what is that? Oh, that's the jaw. Okay. Okay. Yep. Forgot. I forgot. I just kind of clicked it on the jaw and was like, "Yay, it's good." But that's not the answer at all because the jaw is jacked up and I need to fix it. Yeah, you see how bad of a mesh this is? Like, this should 1000% be fixed. But I'm not. I'm a dirtbag. So now, if I do unwrap, let's see what that looks like. What is that? Okay, it's the front finger or something. Okay, rib cage wise, we're looking good. Bone wise, we're looking good. Everything's more or less good. I don't know what that is. Oh, that's one of the bones. I mean, it is what it is. Let me grab the ones. I'm just gonna grab the ones that have like super red in them. Red or blue and a super amount is bad. So I'm just gonna grab those. Doesn't need to be flawless. Just needs to be pretty good. And then there's a relax option. Okay, so I relax it. Basically, that just spreads them out a little bit, evenly placing the UVs. And then I'm gonna do a pack UV 2. Just gonna move everything around a little bit, but it's gonna keep it all the same structure. Okay, so now I'm gonna save this, because in case anything stupid happens, I don't have to come back here and redo all this again, because that was not fun, right? That was a good waste of an hour. Now, with all of this selected, what we can do is we can come in here and see what this might look like if we had a texture on it. And this tells us how detailed it is or how not detailed it is based off of that. And then we can see the seams and how the seams might affect it. And so you'll look at it. Our eyeballs are 256 by 256, but because they're 256 by 256, and it's such a small location of ownership, they're still getting a very dense amount of space for the texture. So I could probably go even less for the eyeball map, to be honest. But we'll deal with that externally from here. We'll leave the UV mapping part and go to the painting. I'm going to apply the UV set. Now, the other option that I can do is if I wanted the skull to have more, um, if I wanted the skull to have more priority, I could select each piece of the skull, right? And then from selecting the skull, I can then say, oh, okay, and go from there. And I think, can I select the islands? I can't remember if I can select the individual items. I thought I could select the island. Move all faces to the current UV set if needed. You may be. Oh, I don't want to do that. I want to auto map. I don't want to shuffle pack. I don't care about auto scaling intersections. Check if there are any self intersections with the islands over the current UV set. Separate the intersection pieces and repack. No, I don't want to. Nope. Okay, we're just gonna hit save. Okay, moving on. So now we can go to the painting portion. It's gonna tell me that I need to update my UVs. Blah 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 blah. I don't care. So everything here is good. Now, to give you an example of what we were talking about earlier, right? So I'm going to grab a white brush and I'm going to start painting. And what you'll see is it's a pretty detailed, but it is pixelated, right? Whereas if I come here, I'm still seeing a pixelated, but this is a 256 texture. And so a 256 texture is 256 pixels, so it's a lot smaller. Whereas this is a 2K texture, and so it's a lot bigger, but I have more things to fit on it. And so that's kind of what we're, playing with when we're doing this process is what fits where, how does it fit there, and blah, blah, blah. Okay? So what we can do now is, and that is an interesting thing. I'm not sure why that exists, but whatever. The next thing that we're going to do is we're basically going to gradient paint this. Our only problem that we're going to have with gradient painting is this bad boy right here, because its height is not indicative of where it's going to be used. So I can't gradient paint that one based off of everything else. Okay, so we want white to be most of it, and then the lower you go, we want it to be a little bit lighter. So I would say the lower color, we're currently at a 50. That's probably not the best option. I'd say probably about an 80 or a 75 is what we want. And then what's really cool about 3DCoat that I absolutely love is I just click the fill. My gradient is already more or less set up, but I need to pick the height of the creature. If I do gradient now, only the very, very bottom one will be basically that gray color. It's really hard to tell with the current grays and the whites because of how this looks. So let's actually make this more pronounced so you can see it, and then I'll just fix it, right? So basically what we're saying is anything that is close to the bottom is automatically painted in a dark blue, and anything that's painted more towards the top is automatically painted in a white or close to a white. But because we're not at the top of the model, like this is the top of the head and that's not there, we're getting blue still. So what we need to do is we need to tailor this to this model. So now we get more white, right? And probably I would say we go even a little bit lower because most of this top area we want to be perfectly lit in the way that it should be. And so maybe even 50 would be the better answer. Creating a nice curve grade. Yep, okay, there we go. That's and so we're still getting the dark blues down there, but we're keeping the nice light medium kind of shift up here. And then for the arms, we can actually change that, right? We could say that the further down the chain of the arms you go, the more of the blue you have and the darkers. And so what we would do is we would shift this to here and this to be up here. So that way, as I'm painting, the gradient makes the fingers naturally darker. And so it's a really cool technique to where I can actually do gradients based off of the pivot and the direction, which I actually really like. But we're not going to do that because that's not actually how I want to handle this. I jacked it all up, basically. So let's go, what was it? It was 0, 50, and then, I don't know, 0, this was 0, this was negative 300. And so we're back to where we need to be. I just need to kind of line this last little portion up. We need to switch this back over to the color that it needs to be. So it's a white at 75. I'm just going to basically go through, and I've got to paint all the different things off. There we go. Get all the different masks. Bones. And there's a couple different ways that we can handle this as well, what I'm about ready to do. So what we want to do now is we want to have the AO. And this gradient isn't massive, as you can tell. So if I wanted to go a little bit darker and create a nicer kind of tone shift, I can actually go a little bit darker. Let's do that. That way it doesn't really affect the top part because that's mostly white anyways. But it will affect these fingers. Again, they're in that range. And I like using gradients because gradients help give it a little bit more of that stylized feeling. You don't have to. This is kind of extra. You could just actually just all paint it white. Or if you're going to go for the bone color or whatever else, you can just all do that too. Right? And then I need to switch my texture over to the eyes. Black. So those are blacked out. Perfect. Because those didn't change. Or they shouldn't have it. Coming back to standard. So we have our gradient. And again, this gives you can kind of see it. Now what we want to do is we want to add in the AO. And so this is your basically, it's a nice mask that goes on top of it. So based off of where they are, they can actually have auto shading. In a stylized setup, this is actually very common. In a PBR setup, you would not do this. You would not bake the AOs like this because what you're doing is you're putting shadows in places that they're not supposed to be. Unless you, again, it's more stylized. But in a PBR realistic, you don't bake the AO like what we're about ready to do. I'm going to do it because, again, this is the style that I like, and this is basically how I do my stuff. So that's what we're doing. So we'll calculate the AO. We'll use a sphere. I'll use the maximum number of lights. And then what we can do is we can separate the painted objects. I'm going to show you what the two different ones look like. So if we don't separate the painted objects and we let this thing go, you'll see that basically it's going to darken all the different edges and all the different areas and everything else like that. Which is awesome because it's going to create a really good effect, right? So now I have really good lighting. It looks really cool, and without having anything amazing, I'm getting a good structure. Here's where the problem is, right? If I come inside of this model over here, and let's go to editor, and test realm, I'll go to lit, right? If I grab my skeleton mesh, so let's grab the actual one, so that way I can really show you kind of what happened. So as we can see, this is a very similar thing. I did the other skeleton in the same way. I have hardcore painted dark spots into all of those because I baked the AO with that. That should not be black. It should not be darkened, okay, because the light's coming on it. But because of how I painted this, it's stylistically you have that. And so same for these fingers. This is a stylistic AO painted shadow, and same for that. And so when I disconnect these bones and they fly off and they're off by themselves. So for example, if I come over here and I grab the hand, yeah, grab the hand, and I pull that up here, you'll see the parts of that location. I need to actually fix the texture that they're pulling from because it's pulling from the wrong one. That's interesting. Why did Matt's skeleton get jacked up? Oh no. Oh no. Oh, it's using the mat. That's why it's using the mask. Well, that's good to know. That's a fix for later. Anyways, the point is you were gonna see some shadows there. I'm not gonna do it right now because so that's the downside of AOs. It doesn't matter in this case and scenario because of what we're doing. Again, I'm just not going to interact with it in that way. I'm not going to sever any bone parts or whatever else. So it doesn't matter. But for the sake of showing you what I'm talking about, if I was to go in and basically create the new AO and calculate it and separate out the objects, what it's going to do is it's going to use the sphere lighting setup or however I set it to do, and it's going to take each individual separated object and it's going to light that by itself. And then it's going to go to the next one and the next one. So that's why it's taking longer, right? Because it's using it's turning on and off each separate individual object, lighting it with the scene and giving it that AO look based off of this. So this will give you some shadows based off of where you put the light and everything else in your scene. I said to use 2,000 plus lights and use them all in a sphere. So what it's done is it's taken a sphere and it's placed 2,000 vertices, and then on each one of those vertices it's placed a light on that thing, and then it shines it there to determine, oh, here's the dark spots, here's the light spots, this is where it kind of creates. If I choose hemisphere and I make the hemisphere point up, then everything below that more or less gets that negative dark shade, whereas with the sphere it's basically like leaving it white. So there's really no point in kind of doing it. It does add some shadows in, they're like super soft ones. But for a stylistic approach, it doesn't really help it. It can, I guess. I don't know. I think honestly curvature maps help a lot more in that scenario because then you can use them for other things. But I digress. So you can see like only the super harsh shadows are created, and for whatever reason it like tripped out on this finger over here, and it only I basically created them in the individual areas, but that finger definitely got jacked up. So long story short, I don't use that one. Now, you still need to come in and kind of manage your AO and do some hand painting and everything else like that. Here's the other problem with AO that we run into. Okay, I am cheating this entire system by having only one half. So I cannot have, and this is why I wanted to show it to you, I cannot have baked AOs because I am cheating the system by having only one half. And so my other side does not have that same thing on it because it doesn't have those meshes there. So I cannot bake AOs. Or I would have to remove the AO from the sections that are basically, you know, like shared. So I could leave it on the other side, but I'd have to take it off of whatever's happening here and whatever's happening there. I'd basically just have to get rid of the AO on either side of this one right here, which you can do if I grab and I basically just get rid of the AO. But you notice it's now painting on that. So now I have to go to my object section, and I would have to, everything that's not that object, I would have to lock out. So that way only that object is being painted. Yeah, it's a pain. So for the sake of speed on this thingy, on this what do we want to call it? Live stream, live event, Twitch streaming, whatever. We're not gonna have the AOs. I will do this after the fact. It's really easy to fix and post, but we're not gonna do it from here. So I'm gonna basically export my object. I'm gonna put it right back onto where it was. fate. Yes. Export. And we technically want to export the texture too, because we already know that the texture is good, right? So we're going to export the texture. We're just going to do the normal color albedo map. I'm going to choose the standard surface one. We're going to export that. We're going to go to textures. Where is this at? Oh, this will be under monster, I think. And we'll call this fate 01 diff. Yep. And so now I have both of those done, which is great. Let's save on that bad boy. Come back in here, and then I get rid of this. That. Let's import. And so this is our updated UV mapped fate mesh. Now, what we want to do is we want to make sure that the UVs are correct. And so to do that, you have to come in here and you have to look at the UVs. And if we don't have good UVs, then we're in trouble. So we basically can grab it, go to UV editor, and it'll show me the UVs. And so that's great. And if I grab all of them and I go to UV editor and I go look at it, okay, everything is exactly where it needs to be. I have some eyeballs that are overlapping because that's the eyeball UVs and they're two separate things. Bada bing, bada boom, whatever, it doesn't matter. Okay. Either way, the point is we're good to go. So now I'm going to do a freeze transformation on this bad boy. I'm going to save this as number 2 in my stuff. So, because I've made some drastic changes and I don't want to lose anything that I might have made, right? And then I got to go into Hypershade, and you'll see that every single one of these now has been created. I wish there was a way to multi-select in Hypershade, and if there is and you know one, let me know because you'll save me lots of time. Otherwise, if there isn't one, then I basically have to click each individual thing and tell it no, you don't want to have that. And then I will give it the standard surface mesh, and then I need to grab the 2 eyeballs and make sure that those are separate. Then I need to, because of how it works, 3DCoat has its own kind of shading model or shading structure. And so I need to basically, I don't like using 3DCoats. It's not a bad one, it's just not, I don't like using it. So I use Maya's. So you have to set everything, you grab everything, you do a set to face. So this fixes the normals to all sit to the face. And then I do another mesh display and I do a soften, and that softens everything up. And if I had any hard edges, I would have to go in here and do those hard edges. I don't, thankfully, so I don't have to do that. Okay. Now, we do have one final problem that we are going to run into prior to moving forward and fully rigging and weighting this. And what that problem is we basically, in the very beginning of this stream, deleted all of these, and there's a bunch of them that need to be created, right? So I now need to come in here and basically move these around and get it proper. But to do that, I need to bring the skeleton back. So we're going to pull up Anti's plugin. I'm going to say generate skeleton. That's actually not good. That means the blueprint's gone. Okay, cool. Well, I guess I have to redo that too, because I didn't save it. Okay, so let's try this real quick. Before we do that, let's go into Wraith 1. Let me open this plugin and then generate skeleton. Nope. Damn. I have to remake the skeleton. That's cool. Today's rework stream. That's what today is. Today is rework stream. I'm officially labeling it the rework stream of the century. Out here reworking things. That's damn, dude. Maybe because I don't have both sides. Oh, that could be it. That could be it. Okay, that's actually, I'm okay if that's the problem. I didn't think about that. That could actually be the problem. Okay, let's see if that's the problem. Let's hope that's all it is, right? Okay, so I have everything there duplicated across. Okay. So now what if I do script? Does this work now? It does not. It is like no. Hardcore. I think it's because I deleted it. I cleared it out. I think that's the problem. Is it's I deleted it. It's not the script's fault. It's my fault for being like, oh, oh, don't need you. Bye. Damn, Gina. Okay, well, it is what it is. Nothing I can do about it right now. Let's create a layer from this, and we're gonna basically turn that into this, so that way I can finish the spinal system, which is what I was gonna try to do. Is I was gonna try to create the spinal system, and just kind of to do that, I was gonna cheat it out, you know, so I can easily just kind of grab it and be like, oh, it looks like this. Okay. Is what it is. So basically, all we're doing is we're just gonna duplicate this up a couple of times and create a nice, good spinal system. And then I'll move them after it's been moved up because it needs to follow this back thing. That's an important thing for this, is it needs to follow that back flow. And I need them to kind of intersect, but not all the way, because I don't want to do the actual cartilage that's supposed to like go in between these. Again, I'm not trying to get super hardcore realistic on this bad boy. I'm just trying to get enough to where I can be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And then it also needs to be scaled down as I go up. So we're about ready to do that. I just wanted to get a couple in here in place to see where it looks like. Okay. So this was where it was, right? And your spine comes in, and then it goes back. Now the problem is I need this. This looks good, except for the fact that it needs to match the rib cage, because those things go into the spine. So I basically just do this. I can't select it. I just go into it. These are supposed to basically do this. And this comes down. a little bit smaller. Yeah, we're basically just playing the game of, okay, cool, that fits there, and how does this fit in there? So looks okay. There we go. Then we'll create a taper one, so like it tapers down. Seems to be object. It's easier. Maneuver, because it's gonna come here. Make it smaller. That way it makes sense. That goes into the head. That's our neck. That's basically all of that. Okay, cool. Yeah. So we have decent structure now. We need to have this come down because it. I do. Back. Who's using back? What? Why won't it let me? Why won't it let me switch to perspective? There we go. Why are you being so silly? It's like making me, forcing me into the positions I don't want to go into. No. Okay, so let's do this. That way we can still kind of see where we're at. But we want this to kind of grow a little bit. And it's gonna basically look like a tail. Again, this is not flawless, okay? We're not going for perfect anatomy here, so don't judge me. You're like, oh, that doesn't that's not how spine works. I know. Stylistically, this is stylistic, okay? Okay, so that's good. We don't have to show any more because again, I don't really care. Let's be real. Let's export this. We're gonna go to meshes, monsters. No, I need to go to the engine. Meshes, engine. I think fate. Yeah, let's see what that looks like. It's gonna have some questions. So I didn't really change much, you know. It's good. Everything looks good here. And you can actually see the default texture kind of goes on it pretty well. We need to make a default material for it. So let's go to material. This will be under monsters. So I'll just put it under monsters for here. Let's go. This will be matte, fate, face. And we're just going to cheat this so I can see what it looks like. Vector parameter. We're just going to call this diff color. I'm going to make it a bone type like color. So maybe like somewhere here. A little more whitey. There we go. Okay, cool. This would be multiplied by the actual texture. So we're going to go multiply by the texture. We're going to do, this is a texture sample parameter. This will be diff. And then we're just going to choose the fate. I already made the texture diff. Okay. And we put that bad boy in here. And we go here. Scalar parameter. This is going to be called metal. Put that into here. And then max out the value at 1. Default should be like 0, I think. And then copy pasta. Make this into spec. Default's going to be 0.1. And then a scalar parameter for rough. And the default one will be 1. Or it's kind of bone, so let's go 0.7. It should be 1 for right now because I'll do an actual rough map for this. But again, we're just kind of hacking it in. Okay, so then we grab this bad boy. We come here. We're gonna go here. This is just so we can see it. So we highlight it. So this will be fate. And we'll choose base. And so now we can see we have no AO coming in this at all. And with no AO, we're still getting what the engine creates for AO. It's a little less control because that would actually be darked out. I would probably have that all blacked out so it makes it much nicer than right here. And that's the control that you get with the stylized effect, is you don't have to rely on the engine and lumen and everything else. It just stylistically it works the way that it would, because as I get over here, maybe it's a little less whatever. But you can see the gradient, and you can see how the gradient affects it and how it looks. Great. Now all we need, press T. So you can kind of see the difference there, right? I see inside of the bones, and this is why the texture is super important, because I want that to be black inside, and it's not black inside. And because it's not black inside, you're still seeing lighting and everything else. So that is important. But other than that, everything else looks good. I'll fix the AO off of screen. Everything else is looking good. Lighting properly. It's doing what it's supposed to be doing. So it's gonna look really cool. I'm kind of excited. I'd be really excited to put cloth on it and then have it start moving. However, again, this got messed up, and that wasn't my plan for the stream. So I think I'll fix that off stream. It'll take me some time, probably maybe like 4 or 5 hours. We'll call this one a short one. This is my introductory stream. I'm getting back into it. I appreciate you guys being patient with me while I was on my business trip and not around, so I wasn't able to stream. But I will be streaming for the rest of the week, and then we'll have the weekends. And then I've got to look into that. But I think, when is it? 2 weeks? Yeah, 2 weeks from now, I'll basically not be able to stream for 10 or so days while I process out my final paperwork for the military and retirement. So, but then I'll be back for the second half of November and all the way through December. Hopefully get a lot done during that time frame, and we'll be pushing. Okay, well, thanks for being here, guys, and then or ladies, either way. Check you, put a favorite, put a follow, and we'll see you on tomorrow's stream. And it should be earlier, by the way. It should be 8 p.m. That's the goal. I started a little late today. I had some stuff I was taking care of. Either way, hello and welcome and thank you and goodbye.